this episode of Boruto. This episode of Boruto was freaking amazing. It was like a religious experience. It was sex on toast. I felt like I had to smoke a cigarette when I was done with this episode, and I don't even smoke! This was the perfect episode of Boruto that I have been waiting for, and it was made all the more satisfying over the fact that we got an amazing action sequence between Sakura and Shin Uchiha. And guys, I can say without hyperbole that this is one of the most epic Naruto moments of the entire franchise. We're talking the original anime, the sequel Shippuden, all the movies. This one right here stands on its own. I honestly don't think I've seen a Sakura moment this epic since her amazing climactic battle with Sasori of the Akatsuki. And this time, Sakura is on the attack. She's the one who actually initiates this battle. She's so confident in her skills to take down Shin Uchiha that you just can't help but want to get pumped up. And before, she was just a student, a young ninja trying to find her way in the world. Now, she's an accomplished ninja who's married to Sasuke and has a daughter. She has a lot to protect, and my god, does she bring the freaking thunder. This episode, guys, I can't praise it enough for its animation or for its action sequences, but it also had some really solid drama, some great characterization, not to mention some really cool cameos from some characters that we haven't seen in a really long time. So let's just talk about some of the major highlights of this week's episode of Boruto. The story itself is very simple. Shin Uchiha has captured Sakura, and he's planning on taking her hostage so that he can bring in both Sasuke and Sarada, so that he can get his hands on even more freaking Sharingan eyes so that he can revive the Akatsuki. But Sakura is not going to take any of this sitting down, and she immediately goes on attack. While this is happening, we have Naruto, Sasuke, Chocho, and Sarada who are flying on the Susanoo, who have just arrived at Shin's hideout, and that's when all the action just explodes on the screen in your face. And man, it does not let up for most of the episode, and it looks really good while it's doing it. Throughout the entire episode, you get to learn a little bit more about Shin Uchiha's abilities and seeing how far they can actually go. We know that he can manipulate metal weaponry, but he can actually replace lost limbs with these knives. He can actually create these like weird, almost mechanical looking knife hands and legs, and that makes him very dangerous, as just taking a normal punch from him is probably going to hurt a lot because his hand is made out of freaking knives. And yet, even with this, Sakura manages to basically go toe-to-toe with him the entire time. There's this opening sequence in their battle that is one of the coolest things I've ever seen, and whoever was the director of this, whoever animated it, man, they did a fantastic job. I especially love how it opened up with Sakura running down this massive stalactite vertically, by the way, and then she ends up confronting Shin Uchiha. That's when we get that classic choreography that we know and love from the Naruto series, which is super fast and explosive, and the type of thing that I recommend rewatching a couple of times, as you're going to see a lot of things that you never saw before. The amount of fluidity and speed that they actually add to the scene is astronomical, to say the freaking least, and I love the little moments. Like, I love how when they first start fighting, Shin Uchiha is literally like punching and flipping over Sakura's body. They trade kicks and punches, and there's even a scene where he tries to stab her a couple of times with his knives, and then Sakura ends up headbutting him right in the face, and then all this shit around them just starts to explode up with this rubble going up in the air, these pipes just exploding around, and you get to see Shin Uchiha like running around all of this stuff like a freaking badass parkour ninja, just dodging all of these things which are about to crush him, and quite literally surfing on this massive pipe, kind of like freaking Tarzan from the Disney Tarzan movies. And I love this scene because, one, he creates this massive shuriken out of all of the knives which have encompassed his brand new knife arm, and he actually ends up cutting this massive pillar, which Sakura just slides around, covers with explosive tags, picks up, throws right at Shin, which then hits him point blank. He explodes over the top of it, starts to run down, and it creates this massive explosion. This is all done in one fluid motion, and it looks so damn good the entire time while it's all happening. And then it leads to another great scene of her skidding across the water, desperately trying to run from Shin Uchiha, and then she ends up getting stabbed in the arm by his knives because they can just go and fly all over the place. Guys, this is one of the most satisfying sequences that I've ever seen from Naruto, and I cannot sugarcoat that enough. It's a shame because I wanted it to go a little bit longer, because right after this sequence we have both Sasuke, Sarada, and Naruto who decide to come in and they help against the battle with Shin, and Shin basically gets destroyed by Sasuke and his Susanoo. He gets his arm and his leg just completely destroyed. Actually, let me correct myself. He already lost his arm before, but here he loses his leg, and he's able to sort of try and trick both of them, where one of the Shin clones actually gets in front of him as a shield right in front of Sasuke, and he stabs right through its body, just stabbing right through Sasuke. But of course, this really doesn't do much of anything, and he tries to make a quick escape, and this is when he gets betrayed by all of the other Shin clones. They've decided that he's no longer something that's going to be useful to him. He's biologically inferior, and in order for the Shins to actually evolve and become even stronger, they're going to have to keep their regular bodies and get rid of the original. So this is a nice little twist on this arc, especially because right after that, they start summoning this massive army of Shin clones, which comes out of the woodworks, and they all look a little different. Like, some of them do resemble the ones that we've seen before, but some of them are very tall and skinny, malnourished looking. Some of them are really chubby. Some of them are quite literally giants, like gigantic freaking Shins. They're like these weird botched clones, but their plan, of course, is that they're going to try and defeat everyone that's going to try and stand in their way. And Sasuke wants to do things the good old-fashioned way by just decapitating and stabbing a couple of fools, and Naruto has decided that since he's Ninja Jesus, he's going to continue to do what he does, which is preach the good word of the power of friendship, and he actually does manage to stop all of these Shin clones. Even Sarada has a really great moment where it looks like Shin Uchiha, the father, is actually getting ready to escape thanks to that weird little one-eyed like creature that he has, and he's actually going to try and take Sakura as well. But Sarada manages to do this amazing classic scene where she jumps up in the air, and this is a great moment because, one, it looks really cool, but it perfectly encapsulates why she is the daughter of Sasuke and Sakura. She immediately activates her Sharingan Eye, which allows her to dodge a lot of devastating techniques, and then she finishes off that weird one-eyed creature with one massive punch, which is the signature move of her mother as well. She truly is the daughter of Sakura and Sasuke. The episode sort of comes to a very quick end, however, right after the scene when Naruto decides that these are children who are misguided. They don't know where their place in the world is, so he's going to try and find a home for them. So they actually decide to bring all of the Shin clones back to Konoha Village, and they're actually going to be staying at the orphanage. And you know who's running the orphanage now? It's none other than Kabuto, who makes his grand return in this episode, still looking kind of snaky and creepy, but has still learned a lot after his battle with Itachi and Sasuke in the past, and that's basically transformed him into a completely different character, but he's the one who's actually going to be raising the Shin clones, so there's a good chance that we're going to see more of these characters in the future, and hopefully we'll get some pretty solid development from them as well. We also have a few other smaller moments that I really do appreciate, like the fact that we get to see Chocho seeing her father in his very slim state that we don't actually get to see too often, and of course she's really excited over the prospect of being able to have a technique which can slim her down. It's pretty much an inevitability until we actually see that at this point. We also have a great family moment between Sasuke, Sakura, and Sarada, because they're a family again, and I love the scene where after all of this chaos, they're just having a nice family dinner together, they're acting like a good family unit, and you can just like get off on the amazing like good time vibes that you're actually getting from this entire scene. It's heartwarming as hell, and it's made even more sad by the fact that right after this, Sasuke decides he has to go off on another journey again. This time, however, he does have a proper goodbye with Sakura and Sarada by giving his daughter a hug, and unfortunately just sort of leaving Sakura in the cold, which leaves her feeling a little iffy, but it also leads to a nice little funny scene. Really, this was a solid addition to the Boruto series, and hilariously enough, as I've said in practically every review for this arc, Boruto is pretty much nowhere to be seen in this arc at all. He does have a few minor appearances, like at the beginning with the lunchbox, and there's even a post-credit scene where he's thanking Sakura for actually doing this for him, but really, this arc right here was dedicated to the character of Sakura and getting to learn what her true relationship with her parents is. They also confirmed that umbilical cord did not belong to Karin. Why would they even have that in the first place? Here's why. It's actually Sakura's umbilical cord, and this is because Karin actually was there to deliver the baby when Sakura was giving birth. This allowed her to have a very deep connection with Sasuke as she has always wanted. It might not be the loving relationship that she has always been looking for, but Karin seems to be taking what she can get, and she even expresses that there's a lot more to these bonds than simply just having a relationship with someone. There's deeper levels to it, and of course that goes along with many of the themes that we have seen in this arc right here. So, what's the rundown on this week's episode of Boruto Naruto Next Generations? Sakura versus Shin Uchiha, 10 out of 5, 15 out of 5. That sequence, man, I cannot express how much I really loved watching that. That was done so damn well, and it gets me excited to see more of the amazing action from this series. And it continues to surprise me. That's always been like my favorite thing about the Naruto anime series, is how they always manage to one-up themselves in a lot of cool ways. Because this is a show that can get pretty tired pretty quick. You know, the water guy uses water techniques, the fire guy shoots fireballs. But it's the moments where they go into the hand-to-hand combat and just watching the characters move and jump around in an environment and try to manipulate it with their powers, where things start to get really interesting. When I was watching the original Naruto anime series, when we got to that big classic battle between Naruto and Sasuke, after watching that one, I thought, how are battles ever going to get any better than this? And the series always manages to one-up itself in some of the most interesting ways. And while this sequence was incredibly short and didn't take place over the course of the entire episode, it clearly left something of an impact for me, to the point where I had to watch the scene so many times just to absorb how freaking badass it was. And the fact that it was Sakura, man, that was satisfying. You know, there were a lot of times towards the end of Shippuden where I was sort of like waiting for that moment where we're like, okay, animators, give Sakura her due. She hasn't really had anything too crazy to do since her battle with Sasori. We really need to see her go all out and do something great. And she did do some awesome things. She became even more powerful, she surpassed her very own limits, she inherited all of the abilities that she needed from Tsunade. But there's never an episode where they gave her the animation style that we saw with Sasori, and we finally got it again in this episode, and I freaking loved it. I cannot express that enough. There are also just a ton of other really solid action scenes from this episode. Unfortunately, Naruto didn't get to do too much here. I mean, it really wouldn't be a problem for him taking down Shin Uchiha and the clones. And in fact, he holds back a lot throughout the entire episode, allowing himself to be attacked just so he can catch their attacks at the last second, just to sort of prove a point to them that what they're doing is fruitless, and there is a much easier way to go about these things. And that's why throughout the episode he proposes, let's just bring him back to Konoha Village and bring him into the family. Sasuke was also pretty awesome in this episode. Like I said, he had a lot of really cool moments, saving his daughter in that one sequence, bonding with her and Sakura as well. All the fanboys and fangirls are going to love the moments when they're hanging out as a family at the end. But like I said, Sakura just sort of stole the show in this episode. That entire action sequence was just crispy as fuck, and as far as I'm concerned, is one of the coolest moments from the entire series, and probably one of my favorite Sakura moments, period. It just had so much good stuff going for it, and it's the type of scene that I just cannot wait to rewatch even again after I finish up this review right here. Sakura also finally coming to terms with what, like, her family life is really like and accepting what Sasuke is going on is a really big important moment for her character, as she can finally move on and grow just a little bit more, not to mention realizing that she has a long way to go in terms of how she's going to develop her Sharingan powers. Seeing what her father's been truly capable of, she definitely has a high ceiling that she needs to reach for, and I'm sure that she's going to go a long way in doing that as she trains with Boruto and all of her other friends at the Ninja Academy. Guys, I cannot praise this episode enough anymore. The animation, the storytelling, everything was just solid in this episode right here. 5 out of 5 from me. Check it the hell out. out. If any of you guys did watch the episode, make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comments section below and what you hope to see from the rest of the Boruto anime series. Did you like this episode as much as I did? What did you think of Sakura fighting against Shin Uchiha? Did you have any other favorite character moments? What do you hope to see from the other Shin Uchiha from the series? Will they actually be mainstays, or are they just going to be in the background? And what do you hope to see from the next major arc of Boruto Naruto Next Generations? Tell me all your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for all things Boruto, anime, and manga related. Make sure to share this video with all your friends, and please give it a thumbs up. Like the video. It's super easy to do. I'll see you guys next time. And as always, stay down, baby.